Are Free Company Militia any good? Thanks for letting me know I had overlooked this unit. I have certainly used it extensively in my own campaigns. Straight away, let me point out that the unit gets a lot of buffs from Volkmar, some from Gelt, and none from France. That's not to say France can't or shouldn't use them in his faction. Not at all. It's to say he is the baseline. Other legendary lords can make them even better than that. Let's look at the details. Recruited for 450 gold for 113 upkeep. On Ultra, this gets you 120 entities with 7,320 health between them. While this is low health overall, the 120 entities are a distinct advantage over other Empire missile units with 90 entities. Armor is 25, this gets boosted by standard Empire techs. Leadership is 55, which is okay and that's it. Speed is 36, which is a lot better than greatswords at least. Melee attack begins at 28, with an attack interval of 4.2 and no splash damage. Melee defense comes at 25, which is significantly inferior to a lot of Empire infantry, but is nowhere near as bad as some things in the game. Weapon strength is 28, split between 21 base and 7 armor piercing, a very standard sword infantry kind of number. Charge bonus is 14, so the charge bonus literally adds 50% to melee attack and weapon strength at maximum charge strength. For ranged, ammunition starts at 18. Range is 90, representing pistols. Missile damage is officially 16, with each shot inflicting 12 base damage and 2 armor piercing damage, with 1 bullet per attack and musket-style firing. Reload time is 9, which is why you get 16 damage net over 10 seconds averaged out. Total accuracy begins at the standard 20, increasing significantly with XP chevrons, and calibration distance is 65, or much of the range. Calibration area is 2, so while it's a lot less accurate at the tip of its range, the unit has a pretty decent chance of doing its damage to each entity targeted at closer ranges. Of course, enemies with shields can parry missiles. Free Company Militia have Vanguard deployment and fire whilst moving, but they're not pistoliers, so they're only firing while moving forward. In the Redline tree, Pistol Core adds a maximum of plus 20% ammunition and plus 8% missile strength at 3 pips, and rank 7 Hardcore Veterans benefit from Sharpshooter, adding plus 12% missile strength, 10% reload time reduction, and 15% missile resistance for better skirmisher cred. In the tech tree, mass-produced small ammunition adds plus 10% ammo straight up, adds 15% reload reduction, and despite the name, rifled barrels adds 10% missile strength for Free Company Militia. I'm explaining this because even without boosts from Gelt or Volkmar, or anything any other source may provide, the maximum potential of the unit's shooting is very good. What about the melee capabilities? In the current state of the game, which, as the description notes, is patch 4.2, State Troop Standards, Improved Heavy Weapons, and State-Issued Infantry Armor applies to Free Company Militia, but not State-Issued Weapons because they are not considered melee infantry. Thus, plus 5 leadership, plus 5% speed, plus 15 armor for a total of 40, weapon strength plus 10%. It's not nothing. Beyond that, it's an issue of leaders, items, and active abilities like battle prayers or magic. So how do you use Free Company Militia? Well, here's the simple truth of the unit. For the most part, you want to rely on the power of its ranged weaponry while uncomfortably close to enemy forces. That's either uncomfortable for you or uncomfortable for whatever it is you're shooting. Between 0 and 50 meters, Free Company Militia will simply devour standard missile units, both on the way in and, should you decide it is even necessary, charging in and engaging in melee. The melee stats here aren't incredible, but they're still a lot better than most of the missile unit opposition. There are some distinct exceptions, Orc Error Boys come to mind, but hey, that's what the pistols are for. So it lacks any super duper mechanic for raising range damage further unless it's something involving magic. Also, the lack of armor piercing and the lack of serious armor itself means that it is squarely an early game unit and meant to fight early game opposition, or shredding something very specific. I mean, it's one of your better damage sources against Dwarf Slayers should the Dowry step out of line. Against Chaos Warriors, they will be all but useless because they don't penetrate armor much. Shields will missile parry potentially 55% of their shots, and the ones that get through might do as little as 2 damage per strike. That's not good enough. On the other hand, anything from 0 to 40 armor stands to get hurt, and anything like that without really good shields stands to get really shredded. Ideally, you actually take advantage of Vanguard deployment, hide them in trees or something, and if you must shoot at something with a shield, ideally do it from the sides or back. Better yet, focus fire enemies without shields at all. The flip side of all the downsides I've mentioned is that it's 120 entities with a moderately accurate pistol. In a straight-up fight, most missile cavalry units are simply done. It's a fairer fight seeing if the unit will break or not before it gets within serious damage range against mainstream missile units. Finally, remember that Lothern Seaguard exists, and they may not have the armor, but they sure have the shields and the melee defense. When Free Company works, they work. When they do not work, you need to be prepared. But that's why they're priced like this. Take care, and have fun showing that a little cowardice and a pistol with lots of ammo can go a long way.